Hello, and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Janetta, and I am pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube, live or later, and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are able to attend live. We encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at uofva.org for all the details. Our message today comes from our minister, Reverend Cheryl Farr. And now, here's Reverend Cheryl. That's Reverend Cheryl Fair, isn't
You got it.
it?
Thank you so much, Johnetta, and welcome, everyone who's with me in the Zoom room right now, and everyone who is watching on YouTube. We are so pleased to have you with us because your energy makes up the energy of Unity of Fredericksburg. So welcome. Our broadcast date today is Sunday, September 29th, and I want to start off by talking about Rosh Hashanah, which begins in a few days. So Rosh Hashanah begins on the evening of Wednesday, October the 2nd. And here at Unity of Fredericksburg, we do have an ongoing interest in interfaith themes so that we can look at, there's so many different ways of being when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to religion. So I don't want to skip over Rosh Hashanah. It's the Jewish New Year, and it's one of Judaism's holiest days. Rosh Hashanah commemorates the creation of the world and marks the beginning of what they call the Days of Awe, a 10-day period of introspection and repentance that culminates with Yom Kippur. So we'll talk about that briefly. Next Sunday, we'll talk about Yom Kippur. So for this week, if you would like to pay attention to Rosh Hashanah or participate, you would begin on Wednesday evening with a time of reflecting over the past year. In fact, Rosh Hashanah is also referred to as the Day of Remembrance. And the act of remembering is not just a private act. We are asked, when we participate in this process, to ask for forgiveness for those we have hurt in the past year. So here's a quote from Jewish educator Mark Rubenstein. Rosh Hashanah is the creation of the world. It is a time to recreate ourselves by recognizing our faults, repenting, and asking forgiveness. And we've talked about that quite a bit lately. And basically, in unity terms, I just call that like coming back to center. When we realize we're out in judgment and ego and all of those things, repent is just bringing our attention back to the divine within. So, when you see people later in the week who celebrate Rosh Hashanah, you can say to them Shana Tova, which means a good year, or you can just wish someone a happy and healthy new year. So that's coming up in a few days, my folks, my friends, my folks. So now we are continuing on our journey of well-being in 2024, and our focus for September is on spiritual well-being. So we're at the last Sunday. I want to do a little bit of a review, because the things that I've been sharing with you this month are all tools that I would like to encourage you to be carrying in your spiritual toolbox. The world has a lot of tumultuous energy going on right now, and having spiritual tools that we can use to help us navigate and maintain our center is so important. So if you missed one of the Sundays earlier in the month, I encourage you to go back, watch the recording. You can find it on our YouTube channel or on our website. There's usually the last few messages are there that you can watch. So we began on September the 1st with the title was The Power of Stillness, and we were looking at meditation. So in addition to having a prayer practice or a spiritual practice, which is an active thing, meditation is a time of not doing, of being still, being in the silence, being in the stillness. And meditation fits with any belief system. So you don't have to be a Buddhist. You don't have to be this. You don't have to be that. Just remember also that your meditation time doesn't have to be a structured practice that takes 20 minutes and involves a candle and all those kinds of things. You can do it that way, but you can also, again, kind of coming to center, quieting down. You can do this 1,000 times a day. That was one of the quotes we heard from back in 1933 from a study guide from the Unity School. You can do this 1,000 times a day. And having that kind of practice of the stillness can help support you and help you maintain your sense of inner balance and groundedness and calm as you witness what's going on in the world around you. All right, on September the 8th, my title was The Power of Breath. And we talked about the metaphysics of breath, and we focused in particular on a Tibetan Buddhist practice called Tonglen. Again, if you missed it, go back and watch the recording. I encourage you to do it. It's a very powerful practice where we recognize the seat of the divine within, right? So in Unity, we talk about how, there is the one presence and the one power, and that is expressing at the point of each of us. And this is rooted in the teachings of Jesus, right? What did Jesus say? The Father and I are one. And he wasn't just talking about himself. He let us know he was talking about all of us. So we have all of that divine capacity within us. The practice of Tonglen lets us know that we can witness all of the chaos and the tumultuous energy in the outer world, and we can bring that within with our breath, and from the divine seat within us, we can cleanse it with light and love energy, and then breathe beneficial energy back out into the world. And we have the power and capacity to do that. So we can breathe in the violence and breathe out peace. We can breathe in desperation and breathe out assurance. We can breathe in confusion and breathe out understanding. So as you witness things going on in the world that you feel like, what can I do to help? How can I do anything? This practice of Tonglen can give you a sense of agency, because the power of your regard, of your thoughts, of your consciousness has ripples out into the world. So this is a way that you can witness all those things going on in the world, cleanse them and uplift them, and share healthy energy back out. So that was September the 8th. Now on the 14th, we did an in-person workshop, and I will be repeating that. I got a little too ambitious with my calendar for October, and luckily I realized that before I drove myself crazy. So I changed my mind, and I'm going to be offering it online in November. So if you were not able to attend, I encourage you to come once I get that date settled and get it set. It'll be in our newsletter. But we did a workshop in person on a Hawaiian practice called Ho'oponopono. And Ho'oponopono is a practice that encourages us to take 100% responsibility for everything we are holding in consciousness. So when we're looking out at the world and we're getting worried about stuff and we're judging on things, Ho'oponopono says, wait a minute, this exists within you and you have the power to clean it up. And so Ho'oponopono, I won't go into the whole practice right now because I do have some other things to talk about today. But it gives us a practice to clean up our consciousness, to take responsibility that we've gotten ourselves rooted in things of the outer world. And again, return to center. Return to center, come back to our divine nature. And this helps us to remain settled and to process things when we're witnessing things going on in the outer world. So today, my title is The Power of Compassion. So, cultivating compassion and goodwill for ourselves and for others is, as you can imagine, essential for our spiritual well-being. So, in particular today, we're going to look at another Buddhist practice called loving kindness, which is also known as metta meditation. And we're also going to look at one of the Unity's 12 powers, understanding, which is also the divine seat of compassion, if you will. So, loving kindness is meditation practice, an ancient Buddhist practice that cultivates goodwill and universal friendliness toward oneself and others. So, as I mentioned, it's also known as metta, which in the Pali language means loving kindness. So, and metta is not just an emotion or something in that human realm, but a cultivated mental state in which our attention and our regard are directed toward happiness. And as you can imagine, when you're all involved with your stuff or stuff out in the world, you are not in that space of happiness and peacefulness. So there are lots of different versions of the metta prayer out there in the world. And all you got to do is get on the computer and you'll find lots of versions. You can certainly adapt them for a way that feels most comfortable for you. So here's one version of the metta prayer that I'll read for you. May all beings be happy, healthy, and whole. May all beings have love, warmth, and affection. May all beings be protected from harm and free from fear. May all beings be alive, engaged, and joyful. So that's one version. And very often when you do a little research on the practice of loving kindness or metta, you'll see a series of mantras that are used when you do the practice. So again, there are lots of variations. You can adapt it in a way that feels comfortable for you. The series of mantras that we're going to be using today, and we'll kind of start at a personal with using first person, is may I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be free from suffering. May I be safe and protected. May I live with ease and joy. So it helps with the practice of loving kindness if you begin with yourself. So particularly in those moments when you feel yourself unsettled by things that you are witnessing in the outer world. And I will frequently encourage you, my friends, to please do not spend your time exposing yourself to mainstream media. It's not good for your hearts, darling. There are lots of ways for you to keep up with what's going on in the world without looking at media that's tied to paid advertising and that is basically there to sensationalize and keep you watching so that you can buy the next thing the ad is for. Please don't do this to yourself. There are so many ways to keep up with the news without doing that. So let us, if you find yourself in that mode or just things in your own life getting stirred up about them, let's practice doing loving kindness with ourselves right now. So I would encourage you to take your hand and put it right on your heart space. Okay. So, and you can, maybe my little talk about the news has already got you a little like, so let's just do it right now. Take a deep breath. So we'll do this in a call and response method. I'll say the statement and then you can repeat it at home. All right. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be free from suffering. May I be safe and protected. May I live with ease and joy. Yes. Now here's a quote from Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron. Practicing loving kindness toward ourselves and others is as good a way as any to start illuminating the darkness of difficult times. Illuminating the darkness of difficult times. Is anyone out there experiencing difficult times? I imagine quite a few of us are, or if not right now, you can remember some difficult times, right? So this is a wonderful practice that as you repeat that series of mantras, that your consciousness can release its attachments to all these things out here that we worry about. What time, how much, how many, all of those kinds of things, and return to center, right? Here's another quote from Pema Chodron from When Things Fall Apart. It is said that we can't attain enlightenment, let alone feel contentment and joy without seeing who we are and what we do, without seeing our patterns and our habits. This is called Maitri, developing loving kindness and an unconditional friendship with ourselves. So we know as mature spiritual people, right, that self-knowledge is often that first gate that we need to move through to effect change in our lives, right? So knowing and caring for yourself is key to navigating difficult times. And again, there are lots of tools out there with which we can do that. As many of you know, one of the tools that I teach and practice regularly is Enneagram, which helps us to kind of see the truth of how our ego and personality operates so that we can then catch ourselves and come back to center, right? So when we feel unsettled, we can pause and notice, observe, feel our feelings, and then use one of our spiritual tools to help us navigate what's going on. So when we begin with loving kindness, we begin off with ourselves. Okay. And then after you do the practice for yourself, then you can expand the practice to include all beings in any dimension. So it could be your neighborhood, your family, state, town, country. It could be the entire earth. But for right now, let's look at a frequent next step that is used in loving kindness practice. And that is to just focus on an acquaintance. So someone who you wouldn't call a friend, but someone who you pass by or interact with regularly. So it could be a neighbor, could be the person that brings the mail to your house. It could be someone that you see at a store that you frequent. So So for right now, think of someone. All right. Again, hand on the heart. All right. You don't need to know anything about their life, but you can certainly use loving kindness, right? So think of that person. And again, we'll do this as a call and response. So I'll say it and then you repeat it at home. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be safe and protected. May you live with ease and joy. So there you go. And just doing that kind of starts opening you up to expanding your kind regard out into the world, because we know that our consciousness has energy, our thoughts have energy, and so this is a wonderful way to cultivate an energy of kindness going out into the world, right? It's very similar to a blessing that's commonly used in unity, where we will say, I love you, I bless you, I appreciate you, and I see the Christ that you are. So we talk about the divine expressing at the point of us, and we'll talk about the Christ. So the Christ as in the principle of, the expression of the divine. So we recognize that in ourselves, and we honor that and recognize that in other people, right? So this is very similar to practices that we have in unity. So when you're working with loving kindness, again, very often you begin with yourself. I would say definitely begin with yourself. Then you can kind of expand your regard to someone that's an acquaintance. You can do it however you want beyond that, but it is a very helpful practice to move on to a person that you find difficult, my friends. So it could be a person who does things that you're very bothered by, says things that you're bothered by, and it is really helpful for you, for the energy of the world, for you to practice loving kindness. So see if you can come up with someone who fits that category. It could be someone in your personal life or someone you've seen on the news, okay? Again, hand on your heart. You don't have to know them personally at all. What we do need to remember is that each and every person is an expression of the divine. Hmm? So when you find yourself stewing in judgment about, oh, I can't believe they said that, do that. Oh, how horrible that is. Take a breath, my friends. You're not centered when you're in that. Let's come to center. So bring that person to mind so that we can start working on shifting the energy of your regard. So we'll do it as a call and response again. You got the person in mind? Here we go. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be safe and protected. May you live with ease and joy. So as you repeat that practice, you can find your energy shifting and your attachment to what it is that's bothering you loosens up. And just let's go back and look at those statements with regard to whatever individual you have in mind, or it could be a group of people doing things that you don't like. So is it possible for you to recognize that these people or this individual that does these things perhaps would not behave that way if they were feeling well, happy, and peaceful? Yes? So, can you find it within yourself to wish them, may you be well, happy, and peaceful? I think you can. All right. A lot of what we might call antisocial, destructive behavior comes as a result of people not feeling safe, not feeling protected, and having trauma that they're acting out. right? So can you recognize that whatever this individual or group is, that you can kind of know that there's something behind all of this that you don't like? And can you be in that space of saying, may you be free from suffering? Because if they're not suffering, then maybe they wouldn't act that way, right? May you be safe and protected. And then the last statement, may you live with ease and joy. So can you hold that for a person that you find difficult? I think you can. So I will say that for me, when I first leaned into this practice, I had learned about it, I had heard talks about it. When I first leaned into this practice was on January 6th of whatever year that was, because I don't remember that right now, when I saw things online about this attack on the US Capitol. And I was, and I've been doing spiritual practice, well, long enough that I'm in my toolbox going, what can I do with this? And realizing that people who were doing that were, attacking the Capitol, we're not feeling safe. We're not feeling honored. We're feeling like this is a desperate moment that they have to do this. Now, how they got that idea, we can get into all that. But that's not why we are here, friends. We are here to talk about spiritual practice. So and I was in a state of grief and sadness that people could, and so I just started working with loving kindness. And that's what I kept up for some time, is just holding myself and holding all of those folks in this regard of loving kindness. So here's a quote from Ram Dass from something called How Can I Help? The most familiar models of who we are, father and daughter, doctor and patient, helper and helped, often turn out to be major obstacles to the expression of our caring instincts. They limit the full measure of what we have to offer one another. But when we break through and meet in spirit behind our separateness, we experience profound moments of companionship. And these, in turn, give us access to deeper and deeper levels of generosity and loving kindness. True compassion arises out of unity. So, this practice of loving kindness, saying these statements of regard for people who are out there doing stuff that we know in our mind is wrong, and that no one would disagree with you, and that there is like, this helps us to open up to that space of spirit, a space of oneness, because behind all that stuff going on, there is divinity expressing. And that's where we can focus and connect. And in unity terms, we can use one of our 12 powers. We have this teaching set, the 12 powers, which kind of, encapsulates aspects of divinity that expresses at the point of us. And the particular power that associates with compassion is the power of understanding, which is located right here at the front of your brain, the power of understanding, which is our ability to know and perceive. And from this seat of divinity, of divine knowing, we can see the divinity in ourselves and in others, despite all the stuff on the surface. So we can focus on our power of understanding. Now, our human ego, our brain, will be all out there in fear and conflict and worry and all those things. Here's a quote from the Buddha: "The greatest protection in all the world is loving kindness." So I invite you in the weeks to come, as you are witness to activities going on in this country with the election coming, practice loving kindness. When you find yourself in thoughts of division, practice loving kindness. In the days after the election, it will be so important for us to practice loving kindness, because there are clearly going to be people who are upset one way or another. Practice loving kindness. When you find yourself in thoughts of fear and worry, I want to remind you, for those of you who like to go back to the Bible for inspiration, one of the most frequent phrases in scripture from the Bible, the quick search I did was 169 times, is the phrase, fear not. Jesus used that phrase. It's in the Old Testament. Fear not, and practice loving kindness. All right. So we're going to start moving into our time of meditation. And just remember, the greatest protection in all the world is loving kindness. So let's start with our time of meditation. Take a deep breath, my friends. If you wish, you can close your outer eyes. I'll use this call and response method so that you can out loud, you can repeat, or you can repeat to yourself, whatever works for you at home. So we start with the first person. May I be well, happy and peaceful. May I be free from suffering. May I be safe and protected. May I live with ease and joy. And now let's expand our practice to bring into consciousness all of those who are dealing with the after effects of Hurricane Helene. All right. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be safe and protected. May you live with ease and joy. And now let's zoom out, my friends, and let us bring into our consciousness all beings on the earth, all beings. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be safe and protected. May you live with ease and joy. And now let us take this energy of loving kindness into the stillness together right now. And as we begin to bring our attention back to the here and now, to our feet resting gently on the floor, the body in the seat, the breath in the body, just feel that energy of loving kindness expressing through each cell of the body. And for each organ of the body and joint of the body, just resonating with that energy of loving kindness. And we'll close our time of meditation with an affirmation. Once again, I'm going to put my hand on my heart space as we could do an affirmation together. And here it is. I'll say it once and then you can repeat it with me a couple times at home, okay? I am the living, breathing spirit of loving kindness. Say it with me, friends. I am the living, breathing spirit of loving kindness. All right, one more time. I am the living, breathing spirit of loving kindness. So I am, my friends, and so are you. Thank you so much for being here. If you're here live or watching later, whichever it is, we're happy to have you with us. And I'm going to hand it back now to our friend, Johnetta.
Thank you, Reverend Fair. That was wonderful. And thank you all for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, ufva.org, to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation, and support our ministry with your financial donation. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.